So in my current role, I get to employ and supervise a lot of people who are young and a lot of people who are new to their profession. And I expect for them to have some insecurities. I expect them to be fearful around doing the work. And I think that's whenever I get a chance to guest speak with any organization or grad school program, I'll immediately say to folks who are new to the field, I don't know if anybody's told you, but you're supposed to be afraid. I try to pass along the messages that I wish were given to me early in my career. And what I'm hoping to do is to normalize experiences and open doors for other people. So, when I'm working with healers and helpers who are wrestling with self doubt, there's a couple of things that I'm going to ask them to do. The first one is to try to develop a habit of asking themselves, okay, do I truly doubt my findings? Do I truly doubt the approach that I'm using? Or am I just uncomfortable with how this feels? Because I think for most of us in the healing and helping professions, we have a propensity towards self doubt. And ideally, we'll get on the same page with ourselves. But what I notice is that when we're feeling insecure in our professional roles, we're making an invalid comparison. We have this image or this understanding of how it is that we're supposed to be in our profession. And I challenge that by asking, who are you comparing yourself to? And sometimes my employees or people that I supervise have an awareness that they're comparing themselves to me. And I'll say, well, okay, let's take a look at that. I had a 20-year head start in terms of our careers, so that comparison seems like a really bad idea. But when it persists, when folks are just not valuing their work or feeling good about the results they're achieving, I'm going to encourage them to attend a professional training. I go several times a year when I'm mandated, and I go when there's something that looks particularly interesting or looks like it might allow me to have more to offer to those I serve. But when I go to trainings, there's a game that I play with myself. I pretend that I'm a client and I've just walked into a room full of professionals in the healing and helping professions, and I'm going to choose my next therapist. I'm going to choose my next case manager. I'm going to choose the next person that's going to help me have a better quality of life and better health. Of course, I have some criteria. So when I look around the room, I rule out people that have permanent frown lines. I rule out people who are knitting furiously and just seem so bloody anxious that they're not sure what to even do with their hands. I rule out people who are wearing more than $10,000 worth of jewelry. And that's a chip on my shoulder left from the days where I was working class poor. I rule out people who look visibly depressed. I rule out people who look visibly angry. And it's not so much a desire to judge by appearances as it is using my intuition to simply identify what it is I can sense about a person and extrapolate from that. And I can engage with them and just courteously or briefly ask how their day is going. But I've come to a point professionally where I really trust my intuition and I go where it leads me. So in the training that I attended recently, there were over 100 mental health professionals in the room. And I found 5 out of 100 that my intuition told me these are people worth getting to know. These are people that have something to offer. These are people who are relatively comfortable with themselves. And I think that's important because for those of you who, like me, serve survivors of trauma, serve people in recovery from addiction or eating disorders or self-harm, the people that you're serving are extraordinarily intuitive. They're very instinctually based. And we can say that those are a set of survival skills, but they're something that can be transformed into skills for better living. Intuition trumps analysis. It's stronger than intellect. It's a better guiding force. And for me, I've found that there's a connection between what I experience intuitively and what I experience spiritually. So I trust what I see. When the healers and helpers who work for me go to these trainings, they see it with a new set of eyes. They see it in terms of, instead of just embracing the inner critic, embracing the scrutiny that we tend to put ourselves under, they realize that what they're comparing themselves to is only an ideal. And when they look honestly and openly at what's normative in the field, they immediately feel better about themselves. Not because other people are a mess, but because they're okay and they're working to get better and they're working to be more self aware. And most importantly, they're working to be more self accepting. So I challenge you, in whether it's in your workplace or in your educational setting or in the next training that you attend, take a look around. Do you see obvious signs of burnout? Do you see people who, man, they're just tapped out. They're just fried. It's time to take a break. Do you see people who clearly aren't enjoying the nature of the work they do? Because I think if you look openly and honestly, you're going to see an awful lot of that. Maybe take a few minutes on this theme and write down some ideas about your professional identity, your personal identity. Are they the same? Are they very different? How are you feeling about where you're at in terms of your professional role? How are you feeling about yourself overall? How well do you know you? And in the next couple of videos, we'll explore a little bit more about developing an identity and making some further investments there.